There's absolutely nothing I will apologize for, because I did nothing wrong, the Proud Boys did nothing wrong, and American patriots did nothing wrong.
Wow, just listen to this guy. Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader who was sentenced to 22 years in prison for his actions on January 6th, but freed by Trump, is now vowing vengeance. His bitterness and defiance stink of cowardice. Instead of remorse for tearing apart democracy, Tarrio blames the justice system and spews venom at his opponents, fanning hatred and rallying his extremist followers. Revenge isn't justice. It's a pathetic refusal to face the damage he's caused to his nation.
There's absolutely nothing I will apologize for, because I did nothing wrong, the Proud Boys did nothing wrong, and American patriots did nothing wrong.
We are currently assessing our options on not only who to sue, because there's a lot of people to sue. I want accountability.
That is Enrique Tarrio, leader of the right-wing group Proud Boys, expressing a desire for revenge yesterday after receiving a pardon and dodging a 22-year prison sentence for the role the government says he played in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Here with me now in studio is Brendan Ballou, former federal prosecutor who prosecuted Capitol rioters. He just resigned from the Justice Department on Thursday, and he wrote about it in a New York Times op-ed. Welcome, Brendan. I don't know whether to congratulate you or say I'm sorry for the circumstances that led you to believe you needed to resign. But when you listen to Enrique Tarrio there, how do you interpret his words? What kind of power do you think he and other militia leaders are taking away from these pardons? Do they now have the right to hold the government accountable? Is that what they believe?
I think they've taken a very powerful message away from Monday's pardons, which is that to a certain degree, they are above and beyond the law. I think that the effect, and I think the intention of these executive orders was to empower vigilantes and militias who were loyal to the president, but ultimately unaccountable to the government.
Okay. How can militias operate to benefit a president if indeed that's their takeaway and you think they intend on doing so?
This is something that we see happen in a lot of other countries that are experiencing illiberalism.
Yes.
Outright autocracies. What you'll have is militia groups that are loyal to the president, see it as their job to enforce their agenda, but ultimately are willing to use violence that the state might not be willing to. And that can be a whole spectrum of things. It can be street-level harassment, like you see in Iran enforcing the dress codes, to the very extreme versions like the working groups in Argentina that disappeared thousands of political enemies. So there's a spectrum of possibility here.
You mentioned in the article, the op-ed that you wrote, that the Ku Klux Klan specifically targeted and killed African Americans, and laws were enacted to combat the Klan. Is it your concern that federal prosecutors may now be inclined to, I don't know how to put it other than say, look the other way when laws governing militias and civil rights are broken?
Yeah, we've got a real challenge, which is at least at the very top of law enforcement in the United States when we're talking about the president, perhaps some of the incoming leaders of the FBI and elsewhere. I suspect that there's not going to be a strong interest in going after the folks that were previously arrested on January 6th.
So let's talk about what's happening in the DOJ. Several of your former colleagues have been reassigned. That all was going down this week. Many worked on the two federal cases, the criminal cases against Trump. First of all, is this why you resigned from the DOJ, to either avoid reassignment or watching work that you had done just become dismantled and dissolve? I'm curious how many other prosecutors are leaving and the kind of impact that will have on the DOJ.
Yeah. In fact, right before I came here, I was talking to a friend in government who's going through exactly that same calculus, trying to decide what to do. I will say, not just every lawyer at the Department of Justice, every employee at the Department of Justice takes an oath at the beginning of their job to protect the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I think every lawyer has to grapple with how best to do that. For some lawyers, I think that's going to be remaining in government and trying to make sure that illegal or unethical orders don't go into effect. I think for others, the calculus is going to be that they can be most effective by leaving government and trying to speak out.
Can I ask the extent to which you feel there is a presence of political bias in the DOJ. It is a department that is supposed to be free of that. But there are all these allegations. Do you see it there?
You know, I think it's so important that the Department of Justice, beyond any other department, not to just be perceived as apolitical, but to be apolitical, to pursue justice no matter what the ends are. I was proud that I think for most of my time, all of my time at the Department of Justice, I think we were effective at doing that. I think what you're seeing, at least from the leadership in the White House, is that it's not just the effect, but the intention potentially to change that. And I think that's very concerning.
Brendan Ballou, we will see you again. Much more to talk about. Thank you so much.
Thank you.